All right, good afternoon. Just wanted to take a look at this weather forecast again for the weekend coming up. A couple of days ago, I showed you the GFS model, and I thought that I would show you the ECMWF, or the otherwise known as the European model, for the storm coming up, and we'll do a little comparison here real quick and give you an idea of why it's such a headache to forecast these winter systems. Um, this is valid on Friday morning at dawn. And again, this is the Euro model. And what you see is the storm is similar to what the GFS was showing. We got an area of low pressure developing back in Texas. And so the storm is really getting its act together here now, pulling moisture in off the Gulf. Got some heavy rain and some thunderstorms going on in the deep south. But if you look up to the north, the northern extent of the precip shield is kind of working its way into western Kentucky already on Friday morning. And let's go forward in time here to Friday afternoon. And what you see is that the precip shield is working its way into pretty much the southern half of Kentucky, roughly along and south of I-64. We've got precipitation breaking out now. And as we go on into Friday evening and the wee hours Saturday morning, the precip's getting a little heavier now, and even some banding going on here back in western Tennessee and pretty much along the Tennessee and Kentucky state line here. So, point being that we have a good fetch of moisture streaming all the way northward into the Bluegrass State on Friday and especially into Friday night. Now, we back up a couple of frames here back to Friday afternoon. You see where the European model has the storm. Here's the GFS model, same storm, same time frame, and it's got the storm, but it's farther south with it. It wants to suppress it farther to the south. And as we go into Friday evening, you can see how it really squashes this thing and keeps it at bay, and then even kind of lets it fall apart here going into the wee hours on Saturday morning. And then it kind of generates a new wave back to the west that wants to shoot on off towards Chicago. Now, a couple days ago, the GFS was taking this low directly up towards Chicago. Didn't really have a whole lot going on over here. It's still kind of wanting to go with that same idea. But again, the bottom line here is you can see how it's really kind of suppressing the storm to the south, whereas the European model has the precip shield much farther to the north. It's all about placement here with these things. It really is. It's this is why these winter systems are really a headache. Now here's the other thing. If we switch over to the temperatures, these are the 2-meter temperatures, so about 6 feet off the ground. Pretty much ground level temps here. Let me back up a couple frames here. You can see the freezing line. This is the European chart. The freezing line draped right across western Kentucky here on a Friday afternoon. And then as we get into Saturday early morning, it's still hanging out right along the I-64 corridor here. Now if we switch over to the GFS for the same time, look what happens. It's much farther to the south. So a couple of days ago, it was completely the opposite. The GFS had the freezing line way up in this area. The European model had it down here. Now they've flopped. The GFS model says we're below freezing. In fact, it takes the freezing line all the way down to Tennessee, whereas the European model is much farther to the north now along the I-64 corridor. So again, this thing is a headache, and this is why in the wintertime you never really know what's going to happen in the Ohio Valley. You've always got these systems where you can't really pin them down until you get within about 48 hours. You got 3 or 4 different models. I'm just showing you a couple of them here today. There's 3 or 4 major models that we usually look at, and they all show something a little bit different. They got the same idea that there's going to be a storm. It's going to be roughly Friday night into Saturday morning, but as far as placement, temperature profiles, the whole 9 yards, it's all over the place. And so it's really hard to say what's going to happen at this point. If I was going to make a forecast right now, I would bet for rain and snow mix on Friday changing to all rain on Saturday. Not really much, if any, accumulation out of this thing. That would probably be the way I would go right now. The European model snow chart, not really putting out anything in Kentucky either. So the cold air is coming. It's just going to be a little while getting here, I think. Let me switch over here. I'll show you something real quick. This is a 300 millibar chart. We're looking at the upper level winds, and you can see how this low is well off to the west on Friday, and you get a nice jet streak on this side of it. We'll have to keep an eye on this. This may kind of try to drive the storm farther to the north. But anyway, it's a headache. We got some wet weather coming this weekend, and we will just have to wait and see how that all pans out. Now, looking on down the road quickly here as we head into next week, the first full week of January, look what happens. All this cold air that's been bottled up is now trying to spill in. Switch over to the GFS. It's got the same kind of idea here, with the cold air up to the north trying to spill into the area, and it may get really frigid here, especially during the mornings next week. So we'll keep an eye on that, but we don't want to go too far in the future here, because as I just mentioned, the models are having trouble 3 or 4 days out, so I really don't want to get more than a week out. Point being here, though, that the cold air is all bottled up in Canada. Really nasty below zero stuff not far off to our north, and it's just a matter of time until it gets here. Now, one other thing here I want to show you. What we're looking at here is the Climate Prediction Center forecast. This is the federal government forecast for the month of January, and they're looking for below average temperatures to set up out in the plains, with average temperatures in the Ohio Valley and basically all of the eastern U.S. and not looking for any frigid weather here. As you know, you look at the month as a whole and look at the average temperatures, not really looking for anything remarkably cold there. With precipitation, they've got it wet out along the southwest, but again, average here in the eastern U.S. So the official forecast is average temperatures, average precip. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I kind of feel like January is going to end up being a little colder up in New England and the Ohio Valley, but we will see how that all plays out. For now, we're just going to keep an eye on this system for Friday. Here in a couple of days, we can nail down the temperature profiles, and that will be the difference between rain or snow for this coming weekend. But either way, it doesn't look like pleasant weather coming for Friday night. Alright, that's all I got for now, and we'll take a look at this again maybe here in a couple of days, and I'll try to put together a forecast for snow accumulations if it looks like we're going to have any. But again, for now, I'm thinking rain, snow, going to all rain on Saturday, and that's going to be about all she wrote for this one. Alright, you guys have a good day. Later.